Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guests are returning guests, our good friends. They are the American Friends of Kenya. First up in the first segment is the president, Wayne Silver. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, I should say, right?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Now, for those that might not have seen the other shows, maybe sort of some background on AFK. What is it?
Well, like many of the best things in life, American Friends of Kenya, or as we call it, AFK, started totally by chance. My wife, Emily, who was the original executive director of the organization, met a woman from Kenya, and she and her husband had been living in stores for many, many years, and they had a dream. They wanted to start a little library in the rural region of Kenya where they were born and raised and start circulating books to some of the area's schools.
Now, obviously, the situation over there is these books are in certainly short supply. It's probably
not even short supply,
yeah,
totally
no supply.
absent.
Yeah.
So that led to a book collection drive among about 16 people who collected more than 25,000 books in roughly 6 months. And we got them over to Kenya, and in the summer of 2004, these 15 or 16 people all went to Kenya for the dedication of the library. We came back and we decided to form an organization, and that's how American Friends of Kenya started.
Wow. And what is the situation like over there, to expound on that aspect of it more?
Kenya?
Just in all, as many aspects as you want to describe it economically and
Right.
education-wise, because you're involved with the book.
Right.
So.
Well, I think Kenya has come a long, long way. In 2002, for the very first time, Kenya instituted publicly supported education, only at the primary level, not the secondary level yet.
And what does that mean exactly?
Well, that means the lower grades.
Okay.
What we would call elementary school, and maybe the beginning of middle school.
Okay.
Not secondary or what we might term high school yet. That is coming, I hope. But at least that was started in 2002. Certainly Kenya has made great strides in public health. In the last 10 to 12 years, it's cut infant mortality by about 50%. Certainly it's made strides politically. Had a rough time after the presidential election in 2007, but
Was
since
there
then,
corruption issues? Is
well,
that what it was?
no, it was violence
Okay.
after the election in 2007. But come a long way since then. Important constitutional reform, political reform. Economically, Kenya is growing about 4 to 5% a year, a growing middle class. So Kenya has many, many positive signs. On the other hand, millions of people still live in abject poverty on less than $1 a day. And it still has a very long way to come, but it's come a long way. And certainly there is room for hope and optimism.
For people to visualize in their head Africa as a map, where is Kenya?
It's in the east.
Okay.
It's in eastern Africa, and I'm glad you raised that, because many people see Africa just as an amorphous mass and don't see the divisions. Ebola, for example, has...
That was something I was going to bring up with
Yes,
you too, because
yes,
people would automatically put that in their
Yes,
mind.
and so far, Ebola has not been a problem in Kenya, and nor has it been a problem in East Africa. It originated and has been a serious problem in West Africa.
Right.
Now, that said, it could spread. I
Right.
mean, certainly people gravitate from country to country all across Africa. But the problems that you read about are in West Africa, not East Africa.
But if people in other countries, even outside of Africa, are concerned, then you would have to imagine that people in other parts of Africa would also share some concern about that too, obviously, right?
Sure,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
of course.
So, they're keeping an eye on it, but and there's no issue with Ebola right now. Okay.
No.
Now, one issue that Kenya does have is its proximity to, like, say, isn't it on a border of Somalia? And that is a problem, right?
Yes. And and that has caused some security concerns. There have been some sporadic incidents of terrorism, the most dramatic at a large mall in the capital city of Nairobi, in which roughly 60, 70 people were killed. And Al-Shabaab, which is a terrorist organization originating in Somalia, has claimed credit for that. And there have been some other incidents of terrorism in different parts of the country. So that certainly is an area of concern. Now, that said, the security situation seems to have stabilized. There have not been any severe terrorist attacks in several months now, and the country seems to be calmer, and it seems that it's crossed the threshold. So we're holding our breath and hoping that the worst is behind.
Yeah. So, American Friends of Kenya, I want to get a little bit into how you collect on this side, here, and then we'll bring it to Kenya. But let's start over here first, wherever you want to begin.
Well, as you implied, we send shipments. We send an annual 40-foot high cube container shipment each year to Kenya, and that includes roughly 30,000 books of all kinds, everything from books for infants, little baby board books, all the way through university level books and everything in between. And we're trying to get books to Kenyan children, Kenyan adults.
Are these all in
Kenyan
English, by the way?
For the most part, yes. English is the official language of Kenya. Swahili is the national language, and very often people also speak a tribal language. But the libraries in Kenya, as well as the schools, are in English. So the books we collect are in English. When we are able to purchase books in Swahili, we will either buy them or send them as well. But for the most part, yes, the books are in English. We also send library equipment and supplies, shelving, furniture, library supplies to actually physically help our Kenyan partners set up small community libraries.
It makes sense. I mean, you can send as many books as you want over there, but what are they going to do? Just sit there in piles on the ground? There actually has to be buildings.
Right. So we help them set up community libraries and school libraries, and we operate through a series of networks. We have 20 networks in different regions of the country with roughly 300 tiny little rural schools and roughly 20 community libraries that we've helped set up or that we provide resources for, as well as health centers, women's cooperatives and the like, organizations that help people with disabilities. So we send to all of these networks, and in addition to books and library equipment and supplies, we send school supplies and classroom resources, medical supplies, wheelchairs, crutches, mobility carts, and any other supplies that our partners need.
So it's not just libraries that are being built because of this, but also, schools, right? And
well, yes, we don't build schools.
Yeah,
we don't build schools,
the
but
things
we
that you're
provide
providing,
resources.
right?
We provide resources to roughly 300 of the poorest schools in some of the poorest regions across the country.
Where's the education level at as far as, the books? What are they needing right now? Where are they?
Okay, well, as I said, they need a wide variety because we're not concerned only about preschool or primary or secondary. We're concerned with broad literacy and improving the educational level and the informational level across the country. So we're concerned about every level and every type of community literacy that you can imagine. But as I mentioned, 2002 was a dividing line. That was the first time that the poorest people in Kenya had access to any kind of publicly supported education. The schools that were created were very, very poor, certainly underfunded. Sometimes the class sizes were ridiculously large because there wasn't enough funding to hire a sufficient number of teachers, but at least there was basic primary education available. So the literacy rate has certainly risen, and that has gradually spread to the adult population as well, but a very long way to come.
Talk to me about the how AFK has evolved from when it first started with, you know, the books that were brought over to, as time has gone on, new things that have been requested or needed as you grow, as they grow, as the economy improves and the education level and things like that, from when it started to kind of where you are going.
Right. Okay. Well, it actually is a very important evolution, because what has happened over time, and of course this is our philosophy as an organization too, is that instead of becoming an American-centered organization, and I think it was fair to call it an American-centered organization at the beginning, it has become a Kenyan-centered organization. When AFK started, and we started bringing in volunteer teams in the summer of librarians, teachers, medical practitioners, and others, we couldn't get our Kenyan partners to participate actively. They would attend, but they just said, we want to listen to you. It was very much an American-centered kind of organization. Gradually over time, at our urging, our Kenyan partners have taken the lead, and they're now holding conferences without us. They're setting up community libraries without us. I mean, we're providing support. We're providing our views.
But now you're kind of in the background a little bit.
That's
now?
right.
Yeah.
That's right. So more and more and more, our Kenyan partners are exercising leadership and really exercising a level of self-determination.
Then that's pretty much what you want, right?
That was not there at the beginning. So it's been a very, very important and positive evolution.
For those who are watching the show and want to help, and what are you looking for as far as some kind of donations, you know, physical books, but also possibly volunteer or maybe even financial help?
Sure, sure. Oh, well, financial help, of course.
Right. That goes without saying
Yeah,
almost,
yeah.
right?
I mean, the shipments to Kenya are very, very expensive. All told, when you total all the expenses, each of our shipments costs roughly $15,000 a year. In addition, we have an orphan sponsorship program. Our volunteer trips are very costly. We all pay our own way, but nevertheless, there are additional expenses that we assume. Plus, we have a small grants program that allows our Kenyan partners to apply for small grants for particular projects to help their networks or to start their community libraries or help their co-ops or whatever. So obviously we need funds just like all other non-governmental organizations. But we collect books. Our primary need is children's books for all ages, all kinds. They must be in good condition, but they can be used. Wheelchairs and crutches, we can certainly always use those. We can use sports equipment, just about any kind of sports equipment. School supplies and classroom resources of just about any kind. Musical instruments, again, they must be in very good condition, and we must have all the parts and some supplies to go with them. But we can use a wide variety of objects, and we're constantly collecting from individuals, libraries, health centers, and so on.
So that's where they would donate them to. How do they get them to you?
Okay, well, we have 4 storage sites around the state. 2 in Norwich, and 1 in the center of the state in Windsor, and 1 over on the western side in Sandy Hook. So we ask people to deliver to one of those sites,
Okay.
and then we take it from there.
Probably more details will be on the website too, I would imagine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What are the day-to-day duties of the president of AFK? What's going on there?
Whatever other people don't want to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I guess I keep all the balls in the air.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, and that's my primary role. AFK is blessed because it's an all-volunteer organization. No one in America is paid a dime. And as I said, We all pay our own way to Kenya. We pour not only our labor and our love into the organization, but very often our own financial resources. So it's unique in the sense that it's virtually a no overhead organization. All of our storage sites are donated. We don't have an office. We work out of our homes and businesses, and none of us is paid a dime. So we have all of these people who are investing huge amounts of their time into the organization, and that's how it operates. So my role as president is to provide all of those people with the support and the direction that they need to fulfill their particular roles. And it really is a collective and grassroots effort, both on this side and on the Kenyan side as well.
Why don't you give out the website for people to go and learn more?
Okay, it's www.afkinc.org.
All right, we'll put a graphic up on the screen too. There's probably links to social media that you're
Right,
involved with too.
that's right.
Wait.
And our web, not only is the website there, but I mean people can get contact information from the website as well.
All right, Wayne Silver, president of American Friends of Kenya. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break and come back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. Our friends from American Friends of Kenya have joined us today. You know, we talked more about the American side of things. Now we'll talk more about the Kenyan side of things with the AFC Kenya coordinator, Jimmy Darito. Did I say that right?
Yes,
I
that's
got
correct.
it right. Well, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here.
So you are the Kenya coordinator. Tell people what that means.
What that means is that in Kenya, when things that requires to be done on AFK crowd, I'm the one who handles them. And one of them is to distribute container when the books come.
And the containers are quite big, aren't they? Talk about how big they are.
Yeah, it's a 40-foot
40-foot
container, and it's always a high cube.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's always packed. It's always
It's
filled.
always packed to the brim.
So what's the procedure? What do you do?
What I do is that we have to clear it through the customs in
Yeah.
Mombasa. That's where our port is. And then we have to track it, put it on a truck all the way to Nairobi. And then once we have it in Nairobi, I put it in a warehouse. And that is where I unload everything. And then I sort all the boxes because they are all mixed up. When it is time for verification at the port, they mix up boxes.
Now, you by yourself, or do you have people helping you?
I have about 5 people.
Okay, wow, but still, I mean,
yeah,
you're
they volunteer.
unloading all the trucks and you're doing all the organizing.
I like it. I
Wow.
enjoy doing it.
Wow, it's a tough job. It seems like it's a long, tedious job, but it's a necessary job. But there's some fulfillment with it when you know what these things are for and where they're going.
Yes, I happen to know the people who use it.
Yeah.
I happen to visit those places. I know how much of a need they have. And I'm happy to do it. Honestly, I feel very good when I help with that.
When you say there's a need, I'll get your perspective, a Kenyan perspective on the situation in the country. Talk about it from your point of view.
I can say in Kenya, most people are not very privileged. We have a lot of people in the city who live in the slums.
Yeah.
When you travel to the countryside, people there also need a lot of help. So I can say in Kenya, one of the biggest things why we have that is that there's a big gap between the rich and the poor. So
There's no middle class or not a lot.
maybe no middle class
Yeah.
or very little middle class.
Yeah.
And most of the people down are the one that are not very rich.
What's the governmental situation like? We talked a little bit about it in the first segment about, in the past with the violence. What's it like these days there?
I can say we have had some little challenges with the security.
Yeah.
But now things are becoming calm, and people are starting to visit again.
How did you get involved in the first place? How did you become the Kenyan coordinator?
My friend who lived in America heard about American Friends of Kenya, and they needed somebody to help with the shipment, and he forwarded my name. And when the American Friends of Kenya came to Kenya for their annual trip, I met with them. I met with Wayne Silver and Emily Silver, and also with Joanne Todd. And we talked about it, and they told me what they do. I came to understand that's 5 years ago.
Wow.
And I liked the idea, and I knew I could do it.
So you've been doing it for about 5 years now? or
Yes,
so?
I've been
Yeah.
doing it for 5 years, yes.
How has the job changed from when you started out to now? Is it just more of everything? As far as you as coordinator and the things that you do, is there more of it? More shipments coming? Are things better?
Yes, besides the shipment, we do other things.
Yeah.
And I can say,
What are some of those
when
other
I'm-
things?
what's that?
What are some of those other things that you do?
We have to coordinate with the network leaders and see how their programs are doing. Some of them include like orphan sponsorship and orphan programs, feeding programs. And I have seen that improve. When I was coming on board, they had a 20-foot container. Now we have 40-foot.
Yeah, it's doubled. Yeah.
So things are improving.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also, we talked about how it started out just books, then it got, into medical equipment, school supplies, things like that.
Yes.
Just to kind of improve the quality of life over there.
Oh, I can say when I go to the slums,
Yeah.
the few schools we now have more than one school in the slum. And I can see, what makes me so happy is when I see and give these kids pencils and pens, and you can see how happy they are. And because some children are getting these kind of things that their parents cannot be able to provide. They cannot be able to provide. And here they are. Somebody's providing some few pencils and books. More students come,
Yeah.
and it's good to see that kind of progress.
It's kind of a domino effect. It starts to, more people get involved, more people are able to be helped,
Yes, yes, and more people come,
Yeah.
and more people come. If it's a school and we are feeding some children, you'll notice most of the children will know about it, and others will just come to school just because there's some more food.
Yeah.
Yes.
Word of mouth is the best form of
Yes.
advertisement, So you explained well what you do as the Kenya coordinator, but when you come to America to do this part of the job, what do you do over here?
Or when I come to America, what happens is the donations that come to the Otis Library, mostly, we pack the boxes.
Okay.
We have to sort the books because many times they are mixed up. Some of the books have to go to a certain age, like preschool, but they could be together with college books. So we have to sort them out and pack them separately because you don't want to send a preschool book to college.
Right, that
And you
makes
don't want to
sense.
send the college book to a preschool.
Right.
So we have to sit down and sort up those books. And we have to label each and every box because each and every box has a recipient.
Right.
And that box must go to those recipients. It's easy for me because once I get the container and I offload it, I'm able to know which box is going to who.
Yeah, because you loaded it in the first place, right?
Yes, when I have a chance.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're working both sides of it,
Yes, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, but it makes it easy for you because if you're the one that's loading the boxes, oh, okay, I know exactly what that is, and then it can more quickly get to where it's going to go,
That's
right? But you need a lot of people like you that's as smart as you, loading it up,
Oh,
labeling it
thank
up
you.
the way, and then doing it that way, right?
Yeah.
So in the first segment, we were talking about some things that, in Africa in general that people would be concerned about. We talked about the Ebola. From your point of view, are you concerned about that at all?
Ebola is a very bad disease, and it has affected many people in Africa. It's mostly on the western side of
Yeah.
Africa, and we don't have it on the east side of Africa. But we are not happy when we see that.
Yeah.
And it's a concern because you don't want to keep on seeing people being sick.
Yeah.
But I hope that there's a vaccine that will be found.
Right.
to control
Same thing
it.
with AIDS, because that's always been a concern too.
Yeah, HIV/AIDS has been a big problem.
Yeah.
And now I can say it's becoming under control.
Right.
People are talking about it in Kenya. I went to Zambia to visit Zambia, and I realized that even in Zambia, people are also talking about it, and the stigma is going away.
Good, that's good.
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes.
yeah, people can get on with their lives. So I can hear, just like with Wayne in the first segment, I can hear the passion in your voice about what you're doing and about how fulfilling it is for you because you're improving the lives of other people in Kenya, and it's got to be a great feeling for you.
Oh yeah, it's a great feeling. The most enjoyable time I have in my life is when I'm offloading that container.
Yeah, is that right?
Because I know this is going to help people. And sometimes I have to explain to people how much work goes to it so that they know other people are working to help them. So I can say both people in America and both people in Kenya, this is very fulfilling to all of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it, how often does the container go over? Is it once?
Once a year.
Once a year. Okay.
Yes.
Fill it up, send it over, and then offload it and distribute it. Right.
That is right.
Good stuff. And so we'll put the website up one more time for people so they can go and learn more if they want to be involved, if they want to donate or volunteer or anything like that. Website on the screen. And it was great meeting you and learning a little bit about what you do. You know, someone on the ground that's really got their hands on it and doing the distributing there. So Jimmy DeRuto,
Yes.
thank you for being on the show today. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you very much for having me here.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of For the Record. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube sites. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. We will see you next time. Take care.